Among all the car horns, busking, and street meat vendors, New York is a busy place, but so many people in such an enclosed space could be deadly. So here are 5 of the most gruesome and disturbing murderers in New York's history. The worst woman on earth. In the 1890s, this was a nickname given to Lindy Halladay, New York's first known female serial killer. She was also the first woman to ever be sentenced to death by electric chair, although that sentence would never carry out. Lizzie immigrated to the States as a child and was married 6 times. Of the first 5, she is suspected of killing possibly 2 of them, and attempted to kill another by poisoning him with arsenic. She also had a love for burning things. In 1888, she burned down the saloon of the 2 female old friends that she would later murder, and burned both the barn and the house of her 6th husband, who also she would later murder. Apprehended and sentenced to death by electrocution, the governor of New York went on to commute her sentence and instead institutionalized her for being mentally insane. She was sent to the Mattawan State Hospital for the criminally insane, where she would live out the rest of her life. But while there, she attacked and killed a nurse by stabbing her over 200 times with a pair of scissors. The Happy Land Arsonist. On March 25, 1990, Julio Gonzalez went to see his ex-girlfriend, Lydia Felicio, at the Happy Land Club in the Bronx, where she worked as a coat check girl. The club has previously been shut down for code violation. Lydia had recently broken up with Gonzalez, and when he arrived, he had been drinking. Predictably, the brief meeting turned into an argument before bouncers tossed him out of the club. What happened next was not so predictable. Having vowed to Lydia that tomorrow you're not going to work here anymore, I told you and I swear it, Gonzalez went and purchased gasoline in a jug, brought it back to Happy Land, and doused the place, including the stairs, lit it, and left. The venue had sealed all exits except the main entrance in order to keep people from getting in for free. With that being said, 87 people burned to death in the Happy Land Club. Lydia, presumably the main object of Gonzalez's rage, however, did not burn in the fire, but was actually first to notice it and leave. She claims that she warned others, but no one, and I mean no one, heard her at all. So exhausted was he from burning 87 people alive, Gonzalez went straight home and went to sleep, which is where police later found him and arrested him. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. The Oswego serial killer. By all accounts, Juanita Hoyt was a good mother who'd simply had a string of bad luck, over and over and over again. From 1965 to 1971, Juanita had 5 children, and, one by one, they all seemingly succumbed to sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. No one gave it a second thought until 1995, when authorities from a neighboring country began looking at SIDS deaths in the area again, with the idea that some of them might have been a murder. Hoyt confessed to the murders by suffocation when faced with the authorities and was tried and sentenced to 75 years to life. She died in 1998 of pancreatic cancer, while still appealing her sentence. Since she died before her appeal could be heard, New York State officially exonerated her. The Angel of Death. Richard Angelo should have been one of the good ones. An EMT at Good Samaritan Hospital in Long Island, New York. Angelo had been an Eagle Scout and a volunteer fireman. His background profile was a person who cared about serving others, but this was not the case. Feeling unappreciated in his job as a nurse, Angelo began inducing emergencies in the patients at Good Samaritan by injecting them with paralytic agents, Kovlon and Anitsin, because he wanted to be the one that would save them. Initially, this strategy worked, and Angelo received the praise he sought from his co-workers and the patients that he had saved. However, for 25 of the 37 patients he did this with, it did not work, and Angelo was unable to save them in time. What's more, people began to notice a pattern of emergencies during Angelo's shift, which caused him to become suspicious. This had all came to a head when one patient, seeing that Angelo was injecting him with something, managed to hit their call button, notifying the nurse staff to his plight. The contents Angelo was attempting to administer were analyzed, and he was found out. Later, police discovered these same paralyzing agents in Angelo's home. When interviewed by authorities regarding the murders, Angelo claimed that he did it because he suffered, essentially, from low self-esteem. He was quoted saying, "I wanted to create a situation where I could cause the patient to have some respiratory distress or some sort of problem, and through my intervention or suggested intervention or whatever, come out looking like I knew what I was doing. I had no confidence in myself. I felt very inadequate." Angelo was sentenced to 61 years in prison. Joel David Rifkin, another serial killer who preyed solely on women. Rifkin is responsible for the murder and, in some cases, dismemberment of 17 women he claimed to be prostitutes. Rifkin came from a fairly normal background and was above average intelligence. Articles on his life indicate that he was teased heavily in school, where he performed poorly, and also began having fantasies of killing women. Later, out of school, he was unable to hold down a job. At some point, he began soliciting prostitutes, while, at the same time, he developed a fascination with serial killers who murdered prostitutes, even going so far as to collect newspaper clippings on the topic. In 1989 and 1990, Rifkin finally began making news of his own by murdering 2 women whose bodies he then dismembered and threw into the Manhattan canals. Their remains were never discovered. In 1991, Rifkin stepped up his activities, and over the next 2 years, he killed 15 women and usually disposed of their bodies in a container of some kind, which he then threw into a body of water. Rifkin was finally caught during a routine traffic stop where officers attempted to pull him over for not displaying any tags. Rifkin did not stop, and it wasn't until he missed a turn and wrecked his car that officers discovered that he was towing the body of his latest victim, no doubt taking it to be dumped somewhere. Rifkin was imprisoned and is available for parole in 2197, at which time he will, thankfully, be dead. So that was 5 of the most gruesome and disturbing murderers in New York's history. It's weird to think how close murderers can be to your homes. Do you have any history of murderers in your hometowns? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying my channel, feel free to subscribe, because I upload new videos consistently. And if you'd like to continue binge watching, click one of these here. Thank you again for watching.